Hello, hello, this is Zito, and this is our functional fitness class. It's a foundations training, so we're getting the foundations of a happy body, a body that can move fluidly, and that can walk in a way that feels balanced and grounded. So these are the basics. We're just going to start back by just loosening up your body. You can give it a little shake, shake it out. You can even walk around just to feel how your gait feels. Many of us walk in a way where one foot turns out more than another. That's coming from the hips. And with that, we can get these imbalances. We can get pains in the knees, the ankles, all that good stuff. Is really coming from our center. So this class is really focused on our center. We're pretty much going to work through 3 different areas. One is just the basic foundations of our stance. The second is going to be sort of our mobility in the upper body area. And third is going to be our core. We're going to have some fun with the core. So those are the 3 areas. We're just going to start by taking a yoga stance. And this yoga stance is where we're standing with those feet straight forward. The outsides of the feet become parallel. And we're going to stand so that it's where the legs insert into the hip sockets. So not the outside of the hips, but where they insert. So it might feel a little bit more narrow than you might think. We're going to spread the toes wide from the little toe to the big toe and just take a moment to stand here. Take a moment to draw in through the belly. You might notice some of us have this arch in the back, so we're just going to soften the knees, take a breath, drop the tailbone down, draw the shoulders up, back, and down, and feel like there's like a little string pulling up through the very top of your head. So you feel that alignment to start with. You're already feeling that alignment. Now, we're going to take a block, so you're going to want some kind of block to place in between the thighs. It's sort of like not right where the knees are, but a little bit higher up, the upper thigh region, so we can feel the engagement of the inner thigh. So right now, you are pressing down equally through your feet, through the big toe side, the little toe side, and through the heels. And now you're going to squeeze the block. So just go ahead and squeeze the block. As you breathe, dropping the tailbone down, feeling that little micro bend. So the knees are not locked. See, if I lock my knees, I'm going to sort of extend through the low back. Too much extension, hyperextend. So drop the tailbone down, press, press, press. And what happens is, if I'm not engaging the thighs, if I'm not engaging through the inner thighs, my knees are going to want to point inward. You might notice that too, they're pointing inward. When I'm engaging those inner thighs, I'm going to have those knees point straight forward right there. So I'm really getting the benefit, not just of these big muscles, right? These big quad muscles, but also those more subtle inner thigh muscles. That is also going to help set the hips. So a couple of breaths as we press into that block. Super simple. We're just going to release that block here for a moment. And now feel how you're standing. Can you feel how there's a little bit of lift through the arch? So if I'm not pressing into all 4 corners of my foot, my arch is going to fall. It's going to be a little flat. But I don't know if you can see this too. Well, hopefully you can. When I pull up, when I press into the big toe side, the little toe side, and the 2 points on the outer side of the heel, I get this little bit of lift through the arch, right? It's a little bit more lift, so flat, lift. That's kind of what we want. So we're gonna bring that block right back in there. And now we're also gonna work on the shoulders and the upper back area. So you can keep this block here. I feel like it's kind of nice to keep that here. It is kind of nice to keep that here, because then you're getting that feeling of that squeezing through the inner thighs. And I'm going to turn to the side so you can see this stance too. I'm going to take these arms forward. I'm going to take them up. What can happen again is we get this sort of overextension, right? Overextension. If that's happening, then drop the tailbone down, micro bend in the knees. And now we want to bring this block down. So a lot of times when we do this, what I notice is people's elbows want to wing out. We're not used to this. We really want to get those shoulders in the home by bringing those elbows forward. So just play with that. So as you're moving, this core is staying stable. as you're bringing the block back. Just bring it back, 3. Bring it back, 2. Elbows forward, draw them forward. Bring them back, 1. That's just going to show you how your mobility is in the shoulders, how tight you are through the trapezius, through those upper back muscles as well. So now we're going to take it up and then press together. Press into that block right in front. You want to draw the shoulders up, back, and down. If you're holding the shoulders really close to your ears, just sigh it out, drop it down. We don't want any tension there. So let's do it again. Lift and then draw it in. All the while, we are pressing into that block right in between the legs. Bring it up, draw it in. So that's the idea of getting those shoulders right in their homes. They're in a really nice spot back there. Little lift through the collarbones. Let's go ahead and remove this block too. And just notice how that feels. Take a moment. Shake it out. Give it a good shake. We're now going to come on down to the mat, and we're going to work a little bit of mobility through the hips and engagement through the core to bring this all together into some really strong core movement. So if I'm moving from my core, when I walk, it's just going to feel really connected, like I'm sort of coming from the core. I can also walk disjointed. See this? Like I'm just moving my arms separate from my legs, but what I really want to do is move sort of like as a fluid being. The more I'm grounded, the more I'm rooted, the more I'm sort of like able to find my range of motion through my hips, the more that's going to happen. So we're going to come on down, and we're going to start by just drawing the low back towards the mat, and arms can come by the sides so we can just flatten through the low back. So I'm going to make sure you can really see. I'm going to tilt this down a little bit so we can really see nicely what's happening down there. All right, I can probably tilt this mic. Oh, maybe not. I think I can't, but that's okay. I think I might just bring this down closer since I'm going to be on the floor as well. One of these days, maybe I'll have one of those mics that's attached. But until that time, this will work just fine. Okay, it's still good. All right, so right down here, just start by drawing the low back towards the mat, shoulders relaxed. And we're going to do this movement that comes from something called Alexander technique, which is showing us how much the spine is interconnected from the low back right up into the neck, right up into where the spine goes into the occiput, right into the base of the skull, okay? So as we move, we're going to tilt the pelvis. You're going to tilt the pelvis like a bowl up towards your face, and then tilt the pelvis away from you, towards the wall, away from you. Tilt the bowl towards you, that little cup of tea towards you, and then tilt the pelvis away from you. So you're going to notice as you do this movement, what do you notice happening with my face, with my chin? When I tilt the pelvis away from me, right? So I'm arching my back. There's room there. My chin wants to come towards my chest. My neck wants to elongate. That's naturally connected. Come to center, chin goes straight up. And now when I lift the pelvis, my neck wants to arch, and my chin and my gaze will go towards my wall behind my head, right? So tilt the pelvis down and away. Chin comes in. Tilt the pelvis to center, chin goes up. Tilt the pelvis towards the wall above my head. It tilts up and towards the wall behind my head. So I'm kind of tracking that with my hands so it's really obvious what's happening. So just go ahead and notice that as you get a little movement in there. We really want to feel how that's connected. For me, it feels really obvious when I tilt the pelvis away, and it's a bit more subtle, but I do feel it when I curve the pelvis, curve it in like a bowl and up. I do feel that. So we definitely want to feel that, all right? Take a breath. Next step. we're going to bring the legs up so we can work the core. This is like, you call it like a tabletop, we call it the dead bug. When I learned it from the physical therapist, we called it the dead bug. And we're going to take the knees right over the hips. So notice what it feels like to get those knees right over the hips and press the low back down. Take the arms up, right? So we're really engaging the core in and down. Like we're pulling the belly button in and down, flat, flat, flat through the low back. Really important to flatten through the low back. If you need anything to stabilize you, you could have your feet on a couch or on a chair. That could work too. So we're just going to hold this. The goal is to hold this for a count of 20, maybe even a full minute. If you need to kind of take some breaks in between, you could hold for a count of 5 and then release. Draw the belly in, hold. I'm going to count us off a count of 20. So here we go. 20, 19, drawing in through the belly. Keep breathing. That's 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Draw in through the belly. 9. Keep breathing. 8, 7, almost there. 6, 5, 4. Draw in through the belly. Flatten the back. 2, and 1. Good job. How does that feel? Go ahead and lengthen through the body. Stretch, stretch, stretch. So you get a nice stretch right there. Full exhale. And that brings us to our last piece of the puzzle. So 2 kind of more steps here. The next step is showing how we're going to connect through the side body. So when I move, right, as I move around in my day, I might just sort of move my upper body. I might just sort of move my lower body, but it might not feel totally connected, right? Some people I notice, they really can have a hard time moving through the hips. They think they're moving through the hips, but they're actually moving up here. We really want to get some smooth move, like that nice salsa dancer kind of feel through the low body that's grounded, that's moving. That's what we want to feel. So as we come on down and as we extend through the body, I'm going to show you from the side, and then I'm also going to face you so you can see it from 2 directions. We're going to do this movement where we are going to feel that side body integration, making the letter C with our side on one side and making the letter C with our body on the other side. So we take a breath, exhale, draw in through the core, and then draw the arms and legs together towards one side. Take a breath. Come back to center. For me, I have to lift a little bit, really use the core, so I can gently drag to the other side and come back to center, okay? So when you're first starting out, you might find like the leg wants to move, then the other leg, then the arm, or you might have the arm kind of crossing over. We really want to keep both shoulders to the mat, and we want to keep the hips sort of flat in the same plane. So everything stays in the same plane. Take a breath, take it to one side, and it's okay if it's not fully integrating. We're getting there. That's why we're working on it. Okay, and take it to the first side and back. Feel that C curve as you take it over to the other side and back. So you're going to keep practicing that. I'm going to show you from the direction facing the camera, if it helps to kind of see it. Hopefully I've got enough space here. I've got my little beautiful wind chimes. Those can move over to the side. So we've got a little more space. All right, so drawing, right now I'm relaxed. I'm drawing in through the belly, see that contraction? So I'm flattening through the low back, engaging the belly, arms, legs to one side. Arms, legs to the other side. Well, I got a bunch of stuff in the way on that side. That's all right. So you can take a couple more practices with that. till that feels really sort of fluid for you, because the name of the game here is that fluidity. And then the last piece is the feeling we want to have when we're getting up off the ground. So when we're getting up off the ground, we want to kind of be getting up from the core. So what that can look like is if I'm on the ground, right, I might use my neck and then use my hands, but I'm kind of disjointed, right? Like I started with my upper body and then moved down, but it's going to be safer for my body if I use my core. So if I pull up from the core and then it sort of drags up, it feels different. So this is where we really get to explore the movement and really just sort of go with it. Like let your body feel kind of free with this. I'm going to give a little more space on that one side so I don't kick a bunch of things. And I'm going to show you how this looks, all right? So we're going to be doing a movement where we're just rolling to one side and rolling to the other side. Now I could do that, leg, arm, I've rolled over. But it's very disjointed. I'm using my arms, I'm using my legs, I'm not using my core. My core is just hanging out. It's going to look different when I use my core. So when I use my core, I'm going to draw the belly in. As I move to one side, this foot's just going to drag. And then I'm going to make a C curve. I'm curving like a C, like a little bean to one side. And then I'm going to expand, come onto the back. I'm going to draw in through the core, contract, roll, draw in. That foot just wants to dangle as it comes over. It's just sort of tracing the ground. As I come back, belly comes in, contract. As I come over, contract. And back. And then belly in, foot drags. Bring it over and bring it on back. So that's another one for you to practice a few times. The real feelings are, one, the toe is dragging, you're feeling that C curve, and the arm is just sort of naturally following. It's sort of floppy. It's a very sort of floppy movement, in fact, okay? That's really the feeling with that one. And it can even go a little faster as you really get kind of used to it. But there's a real feeling of like contraction, like I'm using that core to come to one side and to come to the other side. And lastly, we're going to get up. So you're going to engage through the core. As you peel yourself up, imagine yourself coming up from the low back to the upper back, just one vertebrae at a time. One vertebrae at a time there. All right. So that is the quick and the dirty on the movements for our foundations. Notice how the hips feel. Notice how the belly feels. Is there more freedom in the shoulders? I know after doing that there is for me. Why? Because I came into my center. That's our dantian. It's our prana, our life force, our energy force. So we want to be connected in with that and moving from that. So now when you come up to moving around and walking around, just notice how that feels once again. So root, ground, knees are forward, inner thighs engaged, a little lift through the arches. Shoulders can relax. Breathe it down. Can you feel sort of interconnected as you walk around? Do you feel that you're sort of moving from that core place, right? Like that's what's moving you forward. I want to thank you so much for joining this session, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.